Welcome back, everyone. Today I have one question for you.
Wait. You there. Step forward. Who are you?
Most people, when they hear this question, they may start with their name, possibly what they do, or even their interests. But what if I told you that there's more to you than meets the eye? Join me as we ask God, who am I? This is something that people will sometimes go their whole lives trying to figure out. But honestly, it's not that hard. I'm not talking about what you aspire to be or what your purpose might be, but I'm talking about your identity. And not the kind that can be stolen, because this kind can't be stolen. I'm talking about the deepest parts of who you are, your core identity. I want to look at a verse today that you may have heard before, but as always, let's look at it in a different way. James 1:22-25. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself, and goes away, and at once forgets what he was like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. So if we look at this verse, in light of our question today, it really changes things. And I want to break it down some. Verse 23 and 24 says, For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he was like. So in this verse, I can see two different perspectives of why he might have forgotten what he was like. One, he only ever heard who he was, and two, he was looking in the wrong mirror. There are a ton of scriptures in the Bible that tell us who we are, tell us, who we are in Christ and what God calls us. But if you only ever heard that from a pastor or on a podcast or even from one of your friends or family, would you always believe it? Probably not. Because if the only source of who you are is from other people, then you'll forget who you are when they're no longer there. The verse also said that he looks intently at his natural face in the mirror. And I wonder if he forgot what his face was like because he was looking at the wrong thing. Genesis 1:26a says, Then God said, Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness. So we were made in the image of God. But we can correlate his natural face with the flesh. And the thing is, when you look at your flesh, you begin to define yourselves with false reflections. It could be drugs, alcohol, sex, social media, your failures, or even your successes that you let define you. But what if you just didn't hear who you were and you weren't looking in the wrong mirrors? I like the way verse 25 is read in the NIV translation. It says, But whoever looks intently into the perfect law and gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. I like this because it uses similar wording as verse 23. And looking back at the two perspectives from before, we see it's talking about looking at the perfect law rather than the natural face. And what is the perfect law here? In Matthew 5:17, Do not think that I have come to abolish the law of the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. Jesus came to fulfill the law, so he is the perfect law. And when you look intently at Jesus, it will give you freedom. Why? Because when you look at the perfect reflection, you are no longer bound by your false identities. This next part talks about not forgetting what you've heard, but doing it. And here's the thing, the way you do this is not only hearing who you are, but proclaiming it over yourself. That is the doing part. That's the acting that this verse is calling us to do. Because it's time to take action and become who we were made to be, proclaiming the identity that you have in Christ and embracing who you are. It's so easy to forget who we are when we try to find our identity in the wrong places. The Bible has so many scriptures that tell us who we are, and if you want a place to look for your identity, you need to start there. That's all we have for today, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Keep striving to bring heaven to your home.